Hi, my name is Isabella Palazzolo, and the current event I chose is sex trafficking in the United States. Sex trafficking occurs when someone uses force, fraud, or coercion to cause commercial sex act with an adult or causes a minor to commit a commercial sex act. What is a commercial sex act? A commercial sex act includes prostitution, pornography, and sexual performance done in exchange for any item of value, such as money, drugs, shelter, food, or clothes. Sex trafficking victims includes both men, women, young girls, and boys. How does one become involved in sex trafficking? It is actually easier than one may think for someone to end up being a victim in this devastating lifestyle. Traffickers can find their victims through social network, home neighborhoods, clubs or bars, internet, and school. Primarily, traffickers look for their victims in public places. Traffickers can lure their victims in many different ways, such as promising protection, opportunity, a home if they are on the streets, love, etc. Traffickers make themselves appear as admiring and helpful to those who are the victims. Primarily, victims that are seen on the streets are promised a warm home, food, clothes. Traffickers make themselves look like they're protectors, almost like they are there to protect them from harm, protect them from ending up by themselves. So they will come off at first being super friendly, super caring, loving, and then all of a sudden once they have you lured into this lifestyle, it becomes very devastating. So once the victim becomes lured into the trafficker's game, it then becomes a devastating and traumatizing lifestyle that is very hard to get out of. Traffickers then begin to use violence, fear, threats, and intimidation to ensure compliance and for the victim to always meet their demands. Many stories, if any of you are interested in looking at, many of them talk about the traffickers using threats to kill their families, intimidating them, making them feel like they won't be anything without them, that their lives will be miserable, even threatening to kill them if they want to escape from this lifestyle or even try to. The age majority of victims are most likely to be lured into sex trafficking is 14 to 16-year-olds, adolescents, because they are considered to be young and naive to understand what is truly happening to them. What society needs to understand. So society has put a label on this form of act as prostitution, but the federal law has referred to this as sex trafficking. When I first heard of sex trafficking, I assumed that this was just another name for prostitution, meaning that these people just go out and perform sexual acts in exchange for money and food for their own need, without really understanding that this is actually a supply and demand subject going on. Like, you have your boss, and then you are considered as a worker, and then what you bring home to the table doesn't go to you, it actually goes to the boss, and you are just required to follow the rules, to do as they say. It's very devastating, and because of this social stigma that media and others have portrayed this, victims become unidentified or even misidentified, leading them into drug and alcohol abuse, domestic violence, teenage pregnancies, STDs. Some statistics, according to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, in the year of 2017, 6,081 sex trafficking cases were reported. The top states in which sex trafficking occurs are California, Texas, Florida, Ohio, and unfortunately Michigan. So what really needs to be done is sex trafficking can ultimately happen to anyone and anywhere. The media needs to start presenting this as a very devastating and immoral issue and raise awareness about this. Young children are taken away from homes, manipulated, and their lives are taken away from them along with adults as well. I had put a link to a YouTube video which I would highly recommend watching. It's not very long. This is an actual sex traffic victim of her life, how she ended up where she was, how a sex trafficker found her. She talks about that the beginnings of it, where the traffickers made her feel so loved and so taken care, like they were going to take care of her. She was living on the streets, and that they promised her a home and a better life, and it ended up being where she was involved in this very, very traumatizing lifestyle, and she had to do a lot of things that she didn't want to do, and that she was threatened a lot, and it ended up being a very happy ending for her. She did escape out of the lifestyle, but you know, it's very eye-opening to watch something like this, because knowing that it can happen anywhere at any time is truly scary, and that people need to understand that this isn't prostitution, this isn't a lifestyle choice, it's an actual supply and demand type of thing, where it's slavery. It's almost like 21st century slavery, as what they call it. So raising awareness about this is really important, because we really want to find these people who are under this, that are going through this, and that they really need to be saved through this lifestyle. So these are my references if you if any of you want to read more about it. And yeah, raising awareness is very important, and I find this topic to be very important to share, and that it needs to be heard through more in the media and news reports.